Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Bill Griggs. Tonight is the CNC Router Mixer. Uh, Come join us on Zoom. I will place a link inside of the post inside of the CNC Router Tips group, and talk about anything you'd like, CNC related and unrelated in some cases. And come join us. How is everybody doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Good, Bill. How you doing? Hi, Wayne.
Good seeing you, Wayne and Mike. And we have one other person here, Mito. Um, they look like they're getting ready and
It's actually Randy. I'm just out of my shop.
Hey, Randy.
Hi, Randy.
Okay, let me post the link to the Zoom meeting while we're at it. What have you guys been up to this week? Anything interesting?
Uh,
No. Huh. Well, it works that way sometimes. Let's see. I've been doing a lot of design work lately. That's been what's been going on with me. I've been cranking out some files that I want to some that I would like to give away and some that are part of a program that I'm putting together for folks. So um been cranking through quite a few things. And, you know,
That's me. I've been doing some 3D stuff from AI images and got a new joiner in my shop today, so I got it halfway put together.
mm-hmm. What brand?
I got a Jet 8-inch long bed helical
Mm-hmm.
that I ordered back in November when they had Woodcraft had a pretty good deal, 20% off and free tailgate tailgate delivery, liftgate delivery. But that's taken since I think the end of November till yesterday to get it.
And you
It's
got
just
the
like-
Helix.
Just like Christmas all over again.
Yeah, exactly. It'll feel a lot better when I get all the stuff out of the way and get it hooked up, but at least I got the head mounted on the base, which I had to have some help with, so I got that done. So, and it's set where it's going. So tomorrow I should be able to finish it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was just in there this afternoon because I had to go in and get a couple 1/4-inch bits because those bits from CNC CA, what's his name?
I think it's Bill up there.
Bill. Yeah, they're shit. They won't take a hit on the side of 1-inch thick hickory. I saw that thing fly across the room and I went, oh, I forgot to raise it, didn't I? Oh, shit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure any 1/4-inch bit would do the same thing.
I did that. I think I did that Monday. I knocked the tool holder out of the rack and hit the floor, and boom, there went a 1/4-inch end mill across.
The thing is, I'm working on a $25 trivet, and I just ruined a $70 bed. I don't know. Oh well.
No. As they say, stuff happens.
Yeah.
And it will happen again.
Yep, it certainly will. No
But I
doubt.
did find out they had a guy there that, well, actually I can take in my planer blades and he picks them up every weekend and brings them back the following week. I got like 8 sets of them. I've just always hesitated throwing away, and I've tried sharpening myself and they just never come out good. So he only charges like $2 to resharpen
Really?
blades.
That's not bad.
Yeah. So I'll take 4 or 5 sets in and see what he can do with them, and beats throwing them away if I can get them sharpened one time.
Yep. Yeah, sharpening's another whole skill.
Yeah. At the college they did a lot of resharpening with the tools, which kind of surprised me. But apparently the budget is not as big as you would hope to replace those bits. Yeah.
Well, it's because those bits don't play football.
Yeah, exactly.
We
Exactly.
had one that was a kicker, but that's an no. Yeah, you're probably correct. Um, such is life, but I'll tell you, they just got a brand new um, mechanical engineering technology building upgrade, and they moved a lot of the equipment from the basement up into the main um, floor in the building that they're in, and a few $1 million spent on that, and um, unfortunately, they also lost some real estate for the department, but the welding department got bigger. So, who knows? Things are what they are. Kind of fun to see new building at least. Now I was hoping that they would put in new machines to go with it as well.
Maybe
Anyway,
they need to make room for that plasma cutter in welding.
yeah. Um, so they'll do some things, and we got some things from welding that were nice too. So it was kind of nice swap for the space. But they got rid of the 4 by 8 foot um, va- plastic vacuum forming table. Anyway, it was not like we used it every day or anything, but it was kind of neat to have. Hey Ned, how's it going?
And then I would have taken the vacuum forming table. That's fun.
I wish that had been an option, but unfortunately, the machinery was scrapped.
Ugh.
There was an Enco, the German company, not there was an Enco lathe with a turret, 4 or 5 6 tool turret. Back from the old tape reader days, huge thing,
Yeah.
but very, very easy, very desirable to swap it over to an Centroid Acorn or something. And they just put that sucker on a forklift and dumped it in the dumpster.
Huh.
I tried rescuing it. I called the scrap company to see if you could buy it, and they said no, we turn all of these into chips. Recycle it. It's not worth messing around.
Wow. That's a bummer.
Yeah. I was very upset because we'd already upgraded that machine. Um, anyway, disappointing.
Yeah.
Um, Haley's having some success with that tool changer he was talking about last week. The
Get it working.
Mhm.
Cool.
The guy who developed it sent him a small 4-position block to test, and he posted some video in the group, or at least directly to me anyway, showing it doing 4 tool changes one after the other, no cross threading, no problems. The plunge rate looks good, everything. So
Cool. Is it good, Ned?
Ned's talking, but he's not
Yeah.
off
He's
mute.
muted or something.
How's that? I had my wireless headphone microphone selected. So all that saying hello earlier went to waste. Okay.
And we thought you were talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, always good to have someone intelligent to talk to.
Where are you gonna find that?
Yeah. Okay.
I come here on this channel here, on this chat.
Wow, thank you for everybody here who could claim that.
Actually, the question that I just had was while he was demonstrating that, how was the torque or tension on the cutters, etc., on the collet? Was there any slippage or movement?
Not that I saw. The Kelly sent me a picture of the first couple of tool changes he did before he got it dialed in. And at first it sounded a little rough, and I think what was happening was it was plunging a little too fast at first, and then he got the speed just right, and the ball bearings inside of that thing locked onto the side of the collet, and plenty of torque at the speeds that they're talking about. So
So the torque on the spindle was sufficient to actually tighten the nut without the. Okay.
Yep.
Makes me wonder why we have to tighten that nut so, because I tightened that nut fairly hard. I didn't think you'd get that sort of torque out of the actual spindle.
Actually, you're not supposed to tighten them very hard.
Aren't you?
Yeah, just that's it. There's
Yeah.
when you go to loosen it, there is the first loose which breaks the nut loose, and then there's the second looseness which lets the collet out.
Yep.
Yeah, but it doesn't take much.
Okay, I might have to have a bit more of an experiment. Maybe I'm over tightening my collets then.
I don't think it's hurting, but yeah. But I also don't discount how much torque a 6 horsepower spindle can put out at
Okay, 6 horsepower.
Yeah.
That looked like an ER11.
Yeah. Well, he had there's plenty of people who had the smaller size spindles, like the high speed spindles that Wan Yang puts out, or Han Yang, or however it's pronounced. And those are fine. It was just the question of whether this bigger spindle could go slow enough and still have torque to tighten it up. Seems
Look,
fine.
ATC spindles have come down dramatically in price. You can get some decent spindles for just over or around the $1,000 mark, just over $1,000 in the 2 kilowatt range.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've seen that, and it gets tempting. It gets really tempting. Probably this summer I will update my my spindle. Craftsman quality has gone down since they were picked up by another big box store, and so I'm not going to be using their routers anymore. Yeah, it used to be you just run down, it was easy to replace it, but now that Sears is, no longer a going concern, it's kind of pointless.
Yeah, some crap with a Craftsman name on it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone pushes the limit as to how far they can go with the profit and how low they can go with the quality to sell it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're for those who might be watching this in the Facebook group, if you'd like to join us, I put the link in the chat. You can just click the link and come on and talk about whatever you like CNC related. I don't know. I did a post the other day talking about all the different CAD softwares that I had used over the years, and I got some pretty cool responses from folks. As you mentioned, you did this CAD, and then you learned to this CAD, and then to that CAD, and the next CAD until you could afford the big CADs. And that seems to be the pattern that not only I followed, but most of the people out there, because CAD software is so stinking expensive most of the time. But even so, you got really good deals on things like Fusion 360, Aspire, VCarve Pro, whatever. Those are I actually consider VCarve and Aspire to be a different sort of design software. I don't necessarily consider them to be strictly CAD CAM. But
They fit that hole in between.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Well, while we're on the subject of CAD CAM software, I really urge you guys to take a look at Rhino 3D.
Mhm.
They have a 60-day free trial on it. And then if you join, you actually don't even have to join a CAD course. If you're a uni student or a college student or something like that, and you provide your student ID, you can purchase Rhino 3D. I think it was about, I think it works out about $260 Australian. So it's probably around about $200 US. And if you, but you got to make sure that you're into 3D modeling as well. It really is a brilliant CAD package, that in the sense for 3D. Yeah, it's very, very powerful in all the things that it can do, because it's probably the only CAD package out there that actually does nerves, splines, point cloud, sub D, on top of a standard CAD package, everything that you get in Fusion 360 there. Even Blender and a few of the others are trying to achieve what Rhino 3D is doing. Yeah, I thoroughly recommend taking a look at it.
I used Rhino 3D about 10 years ago. Great software, and I would probably still be using it if at the time it had been a solid modeling package. Now it is, but it wasn't then.
It was
It
not.
was
I used it way back when, and it was awful.
Yeah,
really. I never thought it was awful.
I
Rhino
did.
3D.
I didn't like it, but mine was even longer than 10 years ago. I'm going to say mine was, oh man, I don't even know, 15 anyway. I'd have to go
Yeah,
back and
it's got to be
figure
at
it
least
out.
that. Let's see.
Maybe 20, it could be even 20 for me.
It was somewhere around 2018. I believe just before 2018 is where they parted with AutoCAD. They were actually a design team with AutoCAD as well. But Auto can see their vision.
Mine says Windows 98 on it.
Yahoo.
Yeah.
Take another visit to it. It really is good. Actually, just do some YouTube videos on it. It's really, really good.
Oh, I always thought it was good. It was just I needed to do assemblies, 3D assemblies. I was designing a 4-axis CNC foam cutter, and I designed it in Rhino first, and then a Libre design came out.
Yeah.
And I got that and built it with proper assemblies and constraints and things like that.
I'm coming in late. Does it do cam?
Yes, it does do cam. It's got a couple. It's got their third party add-ons, but yes, it does do cam. Yeah, not a problem.
The cam is an add-on, because I've been fighting it over the last month or so, learning it. But the cam is an add-on. Because that's something that I've been fighting with. I just learned a couple of weeks ago that Fusion 360 in the free version no longer allows tool changes. So I've been looking for new cam software.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of cam packages out there that you can use. The biggest thing that a lot of people I feel struggle with is the actual modeling side of things and what they can do. But yeah, there's so many cam packages out there that you can use off the shelf. As long as you can output a step STL or a DXF file, you're good to go.
Cool.
Rhino Cam is what they offer for it. They have different levels. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. I'm on their webpage. You can try it free, no strings attached for so many days, or you can buy it for, let's see, it tells us how much. No, it does not.
I think it was around about the $2,000 mark for the full retail version. But as I said, if you do it under a student package, there it's only about $250 Australian. And
Yeah.
then once you finish your student thing, it's yours for life.
Yes, Mexsoft is the company that puts out the cam package that goes along with it. Here we go. I found the prices. So Rhino Cam mesh is 1,000. Rhino Cam Premium, which is the next step up, is 8,000. Rhino Cam Professional is 4,000. How is that possible? Premium Professional. Oh, there's three others, excuse me. Rhino Cam Experts, $2,000. Rhino Cam Standard is 1,200, and Rhino Cam Mill Express, which is the low end price, is 476.
Now I see a full package for students or faculty
Mhm.
for 195.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's that. When I bought mine originally, that's what I had, the student version. And then when I became part of the faculty, I never did follow through and get another copy later on. I could have done that. Which probably still could. But it would probably take me 2 weeks to get back into the swing of things. Rhino has a lot of menus and submenus, so like you would you knew that you wanted to do something with an arc, and you'd click on the button, and then a whole little submenu would fly out with the 10 different kinds of arcs that you could do.
That doesn't do that anymore.
Oh, good.
But basically, when you click on when you click on a command, it's very similar to the old AutoCAD 12, 13, 14, etc. When you select a command to do, it displays a list of all the options for that command on the command line directly above it.
Mhm.
If you do want to draw a circle or something like that, you do have like that. It will have like elliptical and so on. It will give you like as soon as there's a little arrow similar in Photoshop and Illustrator that'll expand your icons.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yep.
Yeah, it'll show you like a variety of different ones. But then once you actually select that, you've got all the properties or options for that particular tool. I find it very easy. I'm struggling to get my head around Fusion 360. I'm more familiar with the older style CAD type menus back from the early days. Yeah, so if you are that way inclined and you're not comfortable in 360 and the tree structure that they do, I find it brilliant.
They both had their benefits. Both great programs. For the money, Rhino is probably one of the best bargains out there, because you only pay once. There is, and if you wanted to upgrade it further down the road to the latest version, they have fairly inexpensive upgrade passes. Like, maybe you'd spend $75 to upgrade, or 150 or whatever. I don't know what it is today. That's what it used to be. But good software. At some point, right before Autodesk bought them, the designers rewrote all of the code in a new programming language because it was faster and more efficient. And then they charged you to upgrade to that version. And the one that I have became obsolete. So I never did follow up over into the new brand because I went and got a Libre at the time. So it's a shame because I really liked it. And there's some amazing surface modeling for like cars and airplanes and all sorts of complex organic shapes that you can do easily, can't do easily in other things. Like you could pick a vertex on the spline and just move that one, and it would affect the entire shape of just, in that area. And it was really cool stuff.
Well, the latest two things that they added to it, in version 6, they added sub D. In version 7, they added that you can, I forgot the exact term for it, but whatever your part is, if you wanted to make a mold, it'll actually flare out and create a flange around the entire item. Like, say, if you're designing a mold that closes on itself. And in the latest one is if you've got a multi-part model, you can actually skin it to create a single skin, like if you're designing a drill or something like that you can actually create the shell for it. You can offset the skin to the entire model and so on. And then there's other features like drape and so on, which I don't know if it's available in other CAD packages, but it's the biggest thing is that it incorporates a lot of things more so out of 3D modeling with all of the features of your standard CAD type design.
Yep. Are you talking about draft, adding a draft angle to the mold?
No. Like imagine a mold and you want to seal it, like if you wanted to do a square block, like a block of metal. Well, you can actually create a contoured flange or an edge off it, specifically for designing molds, not draft.
Okay. Parting planes.
Parting plane, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Cool stuff. I'll eventually get around to trying Rhino again. It's just, who knows?
Yeah. 60 days free, give it a go. But take the time to look at some of their tutorials and what it can do before you sign up for it. That way you can have a nice big play with it. And they've just released the new version 8 not too long ago.
Oh, very cool. How goes the work on the projects that we were discussing previously, Ned?
The carriage.
Yeah.
Carriage. I was actually there yesterday, day before yesterday, and on Tuesday, and I saw quite a few of the components gold plated now, and I'll tell you what, it looks bloody brilliant gold plated once they're assembled. If you share the screen.
Just a sec. There you go.
I think I have to start the slideshow first. 1 second.
Yep.
That's the belt buckle there now. Can you guys see that?
Yeah. Wow.
And I can't. Oh, yeah, there we go.
This is for the horse, right?
This is for the horse. Yes, it's not a belt buckle. This will bring your hands down.
The
That's
poor
the
horse.
That's the carriage light there. So I did all the crowns, and I did the entire belt buckle, and I did the crowns. I didn't do the lights. So I did the crowns on top of the lights.
What do they call could you back up a sec? What do they call the things that are holding the crown up? The three toroidal things or whatever.
McDonald's arches.
Yeah. I don't know. So there's the crown, and then as you go lower and lower and lower, you get three.
Oh, those are you. Look, I'm not too sure. That's one of the other gentlemen that did the metal spinning. They were all made in house as well by an elderly gentleman who's been a metal spinner all his life. But no, I don't know the technical names of those.
Well, still very cool. Okay, continue.
They're going to be the pictures of the kings that are going to be lined around the inside of the carriage amongst Jim Frecklington has collected a whole pile of things from all around Australia and other Commonwealth countries that he incorporates. To give you an idea how big those lights are, you can see them in that back right corner on the right hand side there. in comparison to workbench.
Yeah.
So, and that's the ugly crown they put on the roof. That big crown in the foreground was carved in England, in the Tower of London or something over there, and that's actually timber from the rafters of Westminster Abbey.
Mm-hmm.
Some thousands of years old, whatever. There's the carriage there. The little yellow flowers at the top haven't been gilded yet. That's just the undercoat on them, and they're all brass. That's some more of the leather work that goes over the springs. Then the belt buckle attaches to it, and it goes underneath under the carriage. But there's a lot of engineering underneath that. There's stabilizer bars, tie rods, and dampeners.
Did they get the pneumatic shocks working or no?
Yeah. It's gonna have shocks. It's if you look at
Make
some
a
of the
low
news,
rider.
there was a big comment about it. There's this really grotesque gold coach that's quite a fair bit old, and all the royalty hates it because it's like being in a ship in rough seas. You'd come out of it seasick and uncomfortable and etc. And they actually praised Jim's last carriage that he made for how stable and comfortable it is to ride in, and he's done improvements on top of that again with this one here.
Mm-hmm.
That photo there gives you a little bit of an idea with my big fat hands there, what it looks like, and also the amount of leather that's in that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not a waist belt. That's the
Wow.
front steering undercarriage. There's still a little bit more gilding to go on that, but that's 90+% complete. So now it was in the assembly stages anyways.
Those leaf springs remind me of like the Ford Model T leaf springs. It's kind of cool to see. Here's a real carriage.
Yeah.
Back, when they had a motorized carriage for the first time, it still looked like a carriage. Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of design considerations that went into this. Although you might realize that a lot of it is made up from laminated timber, then that laminated timber is impregnated, as you'll notice, is impregnated with armor-plated steel or bisalloy steel. And all of this is designed to be explosive proof and bulletproof and etc., or resistant as much as possible. So he's incorporated a lot of modern design techniques or more modern design techniques to make the carriage more reliable, stable, and safe. There's a lot of weight in that carriage. There's a lot of steel and a lot of timber. Oh, there's a close-up of the little crown up the top.
That's pretty impressive, Ned. I'm curious, what is your hand in this, and what is the backstory? Why is this being built?
Well, I actually look after I look after a number of companies. I look after their computers, statistical process control, hook up their CNC machines, and up until about 2019, although I've used mills and lathes, I've never touched a CNC machine. I've hooked them up for years and configured them and set them up, but I've never actually used one myself. And one of my customers that runs one of the engineering shops I look after, he used to work for a very well-known Australian company that manufactured leaf springs and for trucks and for just about anything, Lovell springs. They were probably known worldwide as well. And that business closed down, and they were the ones that did. This is Jim's third carriage, so they did one of the earlier carriages for him, and they also did the 2005 Jubilee carriage as the new Joel Engineering business, and now they were doing the new one. And Jim tried to find someone to do the brass crowns, to do the various crowns for the royal carriage, but the only crown that he approached for was the ones in the Royal Spinner. So he wanted 4 of those crowns made. And he asked Tony, does he know anyone that could do something like that? And by chance, I'd only just started in CNC woodworking. And I was mostly doing it to produce trophies and so on for our shooting gun club over here, and probably in America now. You're feeling it that it's a sport with a big stigma against it, and there's not a lot available in trophy type materials or awards. So I started seeing plaques and so on, and I'm also into heraldry. And one of the things that I designed was the AIF Rising Sun badge, which is well known with the Anzacs, etc. And Tony was very impressed that I was able to achieve that on one of those little 60/40 Chinese CNCs. And he showed that to Jim, and it pretty much landslided from there. He got me then to do the belt buckle and the crowns on top of the lights, and he wanted a lot more other stuff, but there was just a lot of work involved. So it had to be sort of spread out. But yeah, that was pretty much it.
What are the belt buckle and the crowns made of?
Brass.
Okay.
The belt buckles I cut out of 12 mil acrylic or 12 mil polycarbonate sheet. I did a positive of it, and that went to a foundry, and I was very impressed in the quality of the work that they did with it. I've actually got one of those belt buckles here. I was able to get one of the belt buckles because that was cast at a foundry. But the crown I only provided the 3D model of it for the one on top of the lights, and that went to a company here in Revesby in Sydney called Palloys, and they do jewelry casting and things like that. The crown was SLA printed in a lost wax material. It was a brand new machine that they got. It was like very, very expensive machine. And the crown was done in 4 components, basically printed in lost wax and then cast. And it was very, very expensive to get printed. But yeah, it did come up really, really good with a lot of detail.
Good looking stuff. And who's this for?
Well, it was supposed to be for Queen Elizabeth, but due to her untimely passing, we tried to rush it ahead to do the coronation for King Charles, but looks like it might be for the coronation of Prince William or something now.
No, but you're in Australia, so that's going to be sent to Great Britain?
Yeah, they'll come down here, do a couple of little rides in it through various places in Sydney, and then it gets shipped to England, and it'll reside with the other 2005 Jubilee coach that you see there. That was actually used for King Charles's coronation.
That'll be a hefty freight bill.
That's the door handles.
I think they got it covered.
Yeah, I think maybe so. Yeah.
Well, when you own a Navy, freight doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty much,
This is
yeah.
true.
That's pretty much it where they're up to.
Wow.
What are, I see to the right of the lanterns, there were some brackets. Did you make those as well?
No, I just made
Just the crowns.
Crowns, yeah. The crowns, the belt buckles, and those royal
Yeah,
spinners.
the spinners, yeah.
I only finished the spinners last week. I think the week before, whatever, they were sent out to him, and I'm waiting for him to get them back. But I'll tell you what, once they get gold plated, it just pops them out so much bit more. Yeah, they look brilliant. Gold definitely does make things look better.
Yep. Yeah, that's amazing. That is just an amazing story.
Oh, look at, and I'd only just started in CNC, and it was one of my first. So anybody, like it was really the luck of the draw, the right time, the right place, and it had nothing to do with doing quotes or tenders or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you obviously delivered. I mean, that looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
It looks incredible.
I'm really proud of the work that I, but mind you, the amount of work that went into that carriage, there's quite a few other guys just like me that have contributed. There's only 4 of us that have really did quite a fair bit of repeat work, but there's quite a few other guys that have like just the artistry, the skill, you know, like the leather work, the lady that painted the actual British crest on the side of the carriage. It was painted by a lady by hand, and it looks immaculate. There's just so much detail and so many hours by so many people that have gone into that. It really is a piece of work.
I would love to see a documentary or some type of work on this project. That would have been amazing to have seen the many different hands that went into making this all possible. Because it's not every day they make a royal carriage.
Jim's actually did a book for the 2005 one, and he's going to do a book for this one here as well with all photos and details, because there's a lot of items in there in that carriage that's from many, I can't even remember to repeat how many of the items are, but there's things off well-known trains, off railway lines, off ships, off like bits and pieces that he's used on it. He's got it all documented with little nameplates. But he did a book in 2005, and he did try to sell it in England. But the problem was that it's a fairly large, thick, hardbound book. And the biggest problem was it adds a fair bit to luggage. So a lot of people didn't want to buy it for that reason. And I actually introduced him to Amazon Books. And I said, well, look, why don't you put it up on there? That'll make it available to a lot more people. And they will hard print it and so on. So you might actually be seeing it on Amazon over the next coming months. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a fairly well documented book on the work that went into it, the various people that worked on it, and just what the different aspects and items and accents in the coach are.
Changing subjects a little bit. Titans of CNC just became the dealer for the Sile line of CNC machines. And I thought I had a pretty good grasp on what they offered, 2 or 3 different machines. But it turns out it's more like 10 or 20 different machines, including a 5-axis machine for under $70,000. Now, I know that's a high price, but I don't think Haas, for instance, has a 5-axis machine that's less than 150. Little things like that. And I know that there was talk of some CNC routers coming from Sile. So I'm kind of anticipating or wondering whether Titans and the crew would start bringing those in when and if they were released. They've already started bringing in lathes. So just kind of an interesting price point that they're at. Their stuff starts at around 30,000 and goes up. I don't think I saw anything over 100, but I might be wrong. Just kind of neat seeing a new machine, new machines coming into the market for those who are into like milling things, like your crown, for instance, could have been made on a milling machine if it weren't 3D printed. But definitely it could be 5-axis printed or milled, excuse me. Yeah. Some pretty impressive stuff, although I think Titan built his brand on being American made, piping American made things, and Sile, I believe, is a Chinese company.
American made, but all the components are Chinese.
Yeah. But I don't actually think it's American made. I think it's just American imported or dealers or whatever. But at least there's service here in the US. That
Yeah.
would be the point. So,
Well, American made could be anything from the North Pole to Cape Horn.
very true.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. As long as it's made on the continent, that'd be like saying European made.
Look, it's very hard to go out and truly say that something is 100% American made or Australian made. We have the same discussions over here. But when you've got legislation that all you need to do is put the last couple of components of stitching into it to say that it's Australian made, well, that just blows everything out of the water. They import a toy, pack stuffing in it, put 3 stitches in it, and bang, it's Australian made.
Mm-hmm.
Honda Goldwing has always been made in USA. They're so proud of that. They're more made in USA than Harley Davidson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you make a product and you have to go through that process of trying to figure out whether you can say it's made in the United States or not, the rules and the pages and the BS that's in there is incredible.
Yeah. I've never had to go through that.
I mean, most of the
Yeah.
times that I went through it, it was pretty simple because it was made in the US and
Mhm.
everything was sourced here. There was one particular piece that wasn't, but it was a small piece, and as far as the economic impact of the total assembly, it was, like less than 5%.
Hmm.
So it didn't matter, but in going through that process and looking at the pages and pages and pages and pages of rules and the numbers and the designations and it's a pretty intense, it almost seems like, if you want to call it made in the USA, you can probably figure a way around the rules because there's so many different ways to attack it. It's tough.
That's kind of interesting. I wonder now, my aluminum supplier was in Kalamazoo. Okay. But I have no way of knowing where his aluminum came from. I
Yeah.
don't think it would matter.
Well, if you were trying to go through that process, you would have to get documentation from him as to where that product was sourced from as part of the assembly that you were trying to get designated as made in America.
Yeah.
Hi,
Well,
Barry.
hey Barry. It would be kind of tough because that would be a raw material basically that
Right, yeah.
I would have, and some raw materials only come from certain geographic areas in the country. Like if there's cobalt in it, it definitely didn't come from here.
Yeah, and again, it
Yeah.
depends upon, there's formulas for the amount of cost that that particular raw material had on the final assembly, and there's rules for the amount of weight that it had in it. There's rules for, did you take that raw cobalt and turn it into what process did you do to make it into something else? And if you did that here, then that becomes part of the process. So yeah, when you get into stuff like that, it's, you got to have a lawyer and a scientist and a whole team to just figure out how you navigate how you navigate that ocean.
Slap the label on it and let them sue you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. This brings up a kind of interesting point. A friend of mine works for a bicycle component manufacturer called Industry 9. They call it I9, and they make like hubs and spokes and wheels. And they buy their aluminum from Alcoa, but their process is so wasteful that like they'll take a 1/4 inch diameter aluminum rod and turn it down into a bicycle spoke. And there's a lot of waste going on there.
Yeah.
But they have a deal with Alcoa that because they only use their aluminum, Alcoa will buy it back, all their scrap, all their cuttings and stuff, they buy it back at cost. Because that's cheaper than making new aluminum.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, you know the
Know what the contents are.
yep.
What was that, Ned?
Particularly if you know what the material contents are, like if you're seeing you're using their material, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the whole thing, is they know exactly what it is because they made it in the first place.
That's
Yeah.
correct, yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many different alloys of aluminum that it would be, you know, it's a different aluminum if you make it up from scrap than it is from, you know, random scrap than if, you know, made it from the components originally. But like anything, I think that I will probably never generate enough chips to make that worth their while.
I'll tell you what, those crowns that I did machine in brass, there was eight crowns that were machined in brass. They produced almost 10 liters of brass swarf, like as in very fine brass swarf, a half a 20-liter bucket of brass swarf. So it doesn't take much to make swarf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What type of machine did you use to make those when you were milling?
Cheap Chinese machines, the cheap Chinese 6040.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a cheap Chinese 6040.
Wow.
I did do a few modifications to them in the sense that I've put a solid 12 mil aluminium bed on them, upgraded it to linear rails on the Y-axis, but the Z-axis still had the small 12 mil or some 12 or 14 mil round rails that were. That's where most of the flex was in the gantry, and it had something like 20 mil x-axis round rails that were unsupported. So that's the weakest link in the entire machine. But apart from that, it did a good job, and it does cut brass very, very fast.
Excellent.
Actually, I find brass the easiest to cut of aluminium or copper. Aluminium's not bad, but it's because it's soft. If you have a nice sturdy machine, but meaning the Z or X-axis, it'd cut it not a problem. But because of the flex, it tends to bite into the material. And the same problem with copper, because it's soft. If there's a bit of flexing or if you get a good bite, it will pull into it and you'll break a cutter. But brass is excellent to work with.
Yeah, somebody said everybody's a hero in brass. Because it machines so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you up to tonight, Barry? He's working on muting himself. Yeah.
Yeah, there it goes. I keep forgetting where the button goes. Dad, I love Sydney. I spent a month there in 2000.
Yep.
Didn't eat at the same place except for once, and that was Batatutas.
Whereabouts was it?
Batatutas. It was where all the gay shoe stores were.
Madame Two Swords. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
But I loved it there. My wife loved it there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, though, I haven't been doing much. Just working on the dining table and a small project. I don't do anything exciting like you guys with brass, or I'm trying to remember the proper pronunciation for aluminum, but How'd you say that?
Aluminium.
Aluminum.
Yeah,
There you go. But
Yeah.
yeah,
that's
I haven't done
software
anything
stuff.
exciting. I'm gonna just lurk on the channel and listen to you guys
Okay.
as soon as I figure out how to mute myself again. That way you don't have to listen to Deborah talking in the background. She's on a roll tonight.
You just click the microphone. It's at the bottom of the.
You got it.
I think you can also use spacebar.
I'm on my cell phone, and unfortunately, even though I'm retired IT, I have a hard time with technology today. Sometimes I have a hard time spelling IT. How's that?
Yeah. My last mobile Conqueror was BlackBerry, so that's old school. Anyway, we got Bill here shortly. He's just popped in. Bull said hello inside of the Facebook group.
Hello, Bull.
Hi, Bull.
And he said that they don't care where the tools come from when it comes to American made. So very cool. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it from the chats.
Well, Ned, since you weren't here last week, what do you work with? What machinery do you work with?
I contract to a couple of companies now, mostly woodworking machinery at the moment, large woodworking CNCs. I hook up and configure and set up from a technical point of view CNC machines for a couple of engineering shops. At home, I've got a 60/40, a 30/20, and a Gravograph that I've just upgraded, which are all sort of like in that 60/40 or smaller range. And I'm about to build myself, I've got all the parts for it there, I've just got to find the energy to do it, is build a 1.5 by 1.5 meter CNC.
Nice. And I don't believe I ever got an opportunity to hear what Mike works with.
Mike does, he's doing a lot of 3D modeling, and he has a 2x4 Stepcraft CNC and a couple of lasers and a bunch of woodworking equipment. I just took delivery yesterday of a new 8-inch helical joiner.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I don't concentrate on any one thing, but mostly I do in whatever I make a maximum of 6, and then that's it. The file or the plans go in the trash, and I'm off to something else, because I just don't I don't like production making, stuff, and a lot of stuff I don't even make 6 of. I'll make maybe 1, 2, 3, and that's it. The stuff that I make 6 of is the stuff that comes off the laser usually. So what I'm currently playing with is a lot of 3D modeling, starting with AI images.
So do you have a 5-axis machine to do your 3D, or are you doing 3D printing?
No, I have a CNC router.
So you just do lasers or indexing, or
I
what?
can do lasers and do the CNC router 3D, just strictly mostly 3D.
Gotcha. So has anybody built a teardrop camper from last week's demonstration?
No, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
I started designing, so I'm gonna pick Wayne's brain one day about how to do some things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Um,
did it Sunday. I did a presentation on another group with some AI stuff, and so all week long so far it's been 5 million questions about how to start using AI and stuff like that. So been busy answering questions this week.
mhm. Well, very
Looks like
cool.
we added Bill.
One more
Said,
time.
looks like we added Bill.
Yes, we did. Hey, Bill, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Doing well.
Hello.
Just woke up. Fell asleep with my little guy. So.
Yeah. So we got three countries represented here tonight.
There you go.
Yeah.
Which three are those? Texas, Australia, and who else?
Guess we better make it 4.
Yeah.
Well, I used the same joke when I lived in Alaska, so
Well, I guess if you're gonna call any 2 states, those are probably 2 of the biggest. So
Yeah.
right. Well,
Yeah.
my wife, I actually had to demonstrate that Texas is indeed smaller than Alaska.
there
She
you go.
didn't buy that when we moved up there. Bill, I take it you're from the UK or somewhere?
I'm in Canada.
Oh, that's almost Alaska.
It's close. Yeah.
Where
Probably
at?
as far. I'm in the East Coast. I'm in New Brunswick.
Okay, New Brunswick. I haven't been there.
Yeah. So, but it's far away from Alaska as you can get.
Right. Well, I've been to Newfoundland, but not New Brunswick.
Mhm.
Quiet group tonight.
Yeah.
Everybody's
That
fine.
happens,
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So what's
So-
March up to this week?
Say again.
No, I said, what's Marsh up to this week?
Well, I've actually been collecting parts for a rotary CNC machine. I've got almost everything. I still need some linear bearings for the Z-axis, but I've got almost everything else, and I'm probably going to build it.
What's a rotary CNC machine?
It's a machine where the X and Y are just a spindle that turn. And well, no, let's see. It's the X. The X is
basically
rotary.
A
It's
lathe with a CNC on it.
Yeah, the X is a rotary, then the Y goes lengthwise, and then the Z still goes up and down.
Well, I have a question for you then. I actually have an A-axis as well through a rotary tool. Not something I built, of course. I'm just not bright enough for that. What design software do you use if you're using 4 axes?
Well, for the model I use Fusion 360, and at the moment I'm at a standstill on the cam. I've been looking at this thing called Bill, what was that called? That Desk Proto, was it?
Desk Proto, yeah.
Yeah. That's the one I was looking at for the cam because it has rotary axis built in.
So you can't just still use your XYZ and add the A-axis?
Well, I'm not sure if Fusion 360 supports that on the free version anymore.
Right.
So
I mean, I use a rotary tool, but mine I use more as an indexer than an actual independent A-axis. Because Vectric, out the window, Vectric doesn't support A-axis.
oh,
Two packages that do support it also. I'm just starting to learn Desk Proto myself. but you can also use ArtCam 2018 if you've still got access to it, or you can use the Carveco for it as well. But one of the biggest things that a lot of people make a mistake in trying to find software for it is don't say that you've got a 4-axis or a 5-axis machine. Even with the rotary axis, it's still only a 3-axis machine, but what it's doing is it's converting one of the axes to radians, and that's the only difference. So you're still only on a 3-axis machine.
Well, technically,
software is very expensive.
All right, but I actually do have a 4th axis, an A-axis.
Yeah, but you only program in 3-axis.
No, I have 4. Trust me, I can
No.
control 4 through the CAM software.
Yeah.
So I can control 4 independent axes through the CAM software. Unfortunately, I don't have a program for CAD to support 4 axes.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying to you. When you ask for software, it's still only 3-axis software, but it'll either it'll swap one of your axes for the rotary axis, which it treats as a radian, or like when it uses it. That's all. But you're still only programming in 3-axis.
If you
That's what I'm asking is, is there anything supporting the 4th axis?
if you want to do simultaneous 4-axis machining, you have to ask for it that way. What Ned was just describing is 3+1, and that's just
right.
Where they do the 3-axis and they swap out one, and the software handles that.
Right. Which I'm familiar with
works.
that, because I do that through laser rotation as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do that on any traditional laser, depending on the orientation of your spindle, you're replacing your X or your Y.
Right.
And what I'm saying is that I actually have a true 4th axis.
Yeah.
It's on the Shop Saver, any of the Shop Saver Pros or the Shop Saver Industrials.
Fusion 360 will handle it if you have the paid version.
Gotcha.
Also, what is the SolidWorks CAM package?
Oh, that's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just giving you the right, the answers. I'm not saying they're the right answer for you.
Yeah, generally, once you leave the 3-axis programming, it involves quite a few dollars in order to do 4th or 5th axis machining. Mastercam, IronCAD CAM, there's quite a few out there.
I think what was that? What was that cam that Mike uses? Bobcat, I believe, actually will do 4-axis.
Yep, does.
And there's a few others, but yeah, it starts getting pricey the more axes you add.
As a matter of fact, Bobcam or Bobcat has just increased their pricing. They no longer, when they quote you their 3D software, they no longer just quote 3-axis. It's all 4 or 5-axis, and it's gone up in price dramatically. Before they used to be able to use them for 2D as well, and it was cheaper. But yeah, the biggest thing is the price.
They used to wheel and deal on the price on Bobcat cam. When you'd call up, they'd start out with one price, and then by the end of the call, it was a lot lower. But
so when we say Bobcam, are we talking about CAM software or CAD software?
It's sort of both.
Yeah, it's kind of both.
Bobcat and Bobcam.
I don't remember if they made you pay for both, or whether it was packaged as a.
Now
I never actually bought it.
I think now it comes with it, and that's very pricey. Before, you used to be able to get them separate.
Gotcha.
Yeah. As far as owning SolidWorks, if you are a member of the Experimental Aircraft Association, you can get a copy of SolidWorks. I think it was for $45.
Oh, wow.
something.
Guess who might join the Experimental Aircraft Association?
Yeah, whatever the price was, it was ridiculously low. And I don't know what the limitations are on it. I do know that they could do real work with it. I don't remember the details.
Would that
Does
also,
SolidWorks? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say, would that also qualify as anyone that sort of volunteers at like an aircraft restoration museum, etc., something like that, or does it have to specifically be that as named association?
Well, I think the EAA is only like a $45 annual too, so or something
Economic-
like the
It's
48. Yeah. So
Well,
would it
let me ask this then.
write the check.
Join.
Well, let me ask this then. Once upon a time, I actually used to have a version of SolidWorks,
Mhm.
and we won't discuss where I got it from because it's probably bad. I don't remember it supporting any post processors out of the box, but that was back in the day. So it'll actually output G code for a post processor.
I
I'm
wouldn't be able to. One of my customers uses it, but I don't know. They don't output to CAM with it. I can find out, but I'm sure it says it on their website anyway.
Look
So
into it.
I'm going to share screens, guys. So I went to the Experimental Aircraft Association's website. Here's what it says.
Oh, nice.
SolidWorks is an industry standard for CAD software used by aircraft and kit manufacturers from Cirrus to Zenith. EAA has received a generous offer from SolidWorks that gives members access to the 3D Experience SolidWorks for makers at a 50% discount, $48. EAA members get it for 24.
So once upon a time, I remember SolidWorks being considerably more than $96 retail.
There are various versions and releases of SolidWorks, but
Okay.
That looks like a limited features like 3D Experience SolidWorks. It's probably not the full blown SolidWorks.
I couldn't imagine for $96 it would be.
Well, it says
No,
50%
for 24.
off, so it would be
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. At 50% off, that makes retail 96.
99, yeah.
It's crossed out at 99. Yeah. So anyway, still, if you want to experiment with CAD, I mean, what's your excuse now?
Well, I've worked with SolidWorks and I love the program. I just didn't know that it actually output G code in any format.
There's another package for that you can add to SolidWorks that will do the G code. I don't know. The company that wrote it is the one that Autodesk bought that uses, for Fusion 360. So I don't know what they were calling it now, HSM Works or something like that. I think it was called originally. But there's only so much that I can remember. HSM Works, I think it was.
Well, for now, what I usually do is, I don't know if you guys seen that guy from France that does he does rotational CNC work with a El Cheapo CNC machine, Shapeco or something. And that's actually not, $680 is not a bad price for SolidWorks or for embedded CAM software. But anyways, there's a guy in France that uses he does something similar to an indexer, but he does it just with a 3-axis machine. I can't remember what the name of the channel is, but one of my favorite videos he did was sliced modeling, and he did what was the xenomorph, So if you look up Xenomorph CNC, you can find his channel, and he does a couple that he does with a jig. So he still uses his X and Y axis on a flat plane, but he actually rotates the piece through a jig to generate a fourth axis. So he's manually rotating a piece.
Hmm.
It's a really novel approach to doing a fourth axis, but right now that's actually what I do is I go through the CAM software, I rotate my A axis, and then I use my X, Y, and Z along the rest of whatever piece I'm doing. But it's tedious that way.
A simple way, that's two-sided machining. Simple way for that is if you put two locating holes on either end of your job, on either side of your job, so you can either flip it horizontally or flip it vertically or vice versa, whatever, and then you can just machine the other side and just reverse your job. I do that quite a fair bit. I actually find that more accurate and better than actually using the rotary axis.
Well, the biggest problem, and I'm gonna use an example. When we talk about the human head, we're talking about undercuts behind the ears, right? Yeah, that's one of his videos. He hasn't put out anything in
that guy.
quite a while,
Yeah.
but he's an amazing guy. And I'm a big technique guy. I like to watch the techniques that people use to do things. But anyways, to go back to my example, one of the biggest problems with using indexing holes is, the human head, to get the undercuts behind the ears and then to get the inside of the ears, you have to actually rotate the piece 90 degrees to get it accurately, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So by using the CAM software to rotate my A axis and allowing the machine to cut along the X, Y, and the Z axes, I can simulate having that all four axes for things like, in the ear, around the ear, from the top of the ear. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. This is definitely bears watching.
Yeah. And he does, if you look at his channel, there's one on there that he does with a jig that's just amazing, the way he came up with doing a jig. Can you click on his channel for us?
Yes. Is that the right?
And I apologize. My wife's in the back, and for those that don't know, she has dementia. So it's one of his older ones. If you could go down.
What are you looking for? I'm sorry.
There you go. The three-sided koi fish. So cut to about the middle. It's really fascinating the way he did this. There you go. That's his design. So you see how he basically cut from 3 angles.
Yeah, definitely worth watching a few of these.
Yeah.
I see. And he rotates it.
He rotates it.
I need to bail. So, Barry, one thing I wanted to say to you about this rotary axis machine is it's going to take me a long time to wrap my head around how to use it. But my big strength is in actually building it. That much I know I can do. So, and that's where all the fun is for me.
Right. And where are you at, Marsh?
I'm in Sacramento, California.
Well, if you ever come to Central Texas, I'd love to pick your brain on how to build, because I was telling Mr. Griggs that I have an old Grizzly mill. It's a horizontal vertical mill, and I'd like to retrofit it into a CNC.
Well, I've got a YouTube channel. It's called Wild Man Tech, and
I'll look it up.
I document a lot of my builds on that. So
I'll look it up.
Cool. Anyway, I got to bail. See you, fellas.
Take care, Mark.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. For those who just want to see real quick. Wild Man Tech.
Just found it myself.
Yeah.
You found the YouTube home of Wildman Technology.
I recognize that face.
Yep. So he's got quite a few videos, nice videos. So check him out. Hit the like and subscribe button. You know how that goes. Yeah, excellent. Maybe we got to do a show on our favorite YouTube channels for CNC someday. That would be an interesting topic.
There you go.
Everybody bring a channel to share.
I got a question for you guys. So I'm still having issues with my table, and I've been talking to the techs at Axes, and I think I mentioned this before, but they want me to take a look at the power coming into my building. So it's a 3-phase machine running on 208, and they're telling me that I'm getting voltage spikes, of getting dirty power, which is only affecting my Z-axis. So when I do a longer curve, I'm losing my Z height. I'll just come back and the Z is a 1/4 inch higher than it should be. Everything else is still going. Nothing else is stopped. I'm not getting any errors. It's just a different height.
Is this a home built or purchased brand machine, or?
This is it's a Axis. It's a Canadian made table. It's an industrial table.
Okay. Did you do any conversion to the electronics at all?
I haven't touched it. It's completely stock.
I can maybe help you out a little bit with that, or something to keep an eye out for. It definitely sounds like you're getting some kind of electromagnetic or spikes or interference through your cables. Generally, it comes from the VFD. So if you get, do you know what a ferrite toroid is?
Yeah.
Okay, get yourself some ferrite toroids. You can rip them off a lot of power cables and video cables and stuff like that, and loop your 3 phases of your VFD spindle at the actual VFD. Loop the 3 cables through it, sort of like do like your A, do it clockwise, then your B, do it clockwise, then your C, do it clockwise. Also on the power going into your controller, loop the positive and negative. So you'll do the same thing. You'll just come through and loop them on either side of the actual ferrite bead, and that will filter out a lot of spikes. It's something that's happening between your VFD and your controller. So that would be like a cheap, quick, easy try. And I'll go and quickly snap a photo of what I've done on one of my machines, and that's fixed the problem. And this is also very, very, this happens a lot with people that have brush type cheap spindles where the brushes wear and they cause arcing. So just basically EMF type electrical noise.
Yeah.
Ned,
I get that, but the tables, I mean, maybe think something's
it's an
worn.
industrial level table.
It's 13 years old and has never done this before.
But Ned,
Hey,
I got
look-
a question for you.
Hey, May I ask a question real quick?
Yep.
I had a similar problem with my Shop Saver. I have a Shop Saver Pro 408. Had a similar problem. And of course, the electrician didn't know what he was doing. And by the electrician, I mean me. And one of the problems that I found was my ground potential was different on the VFD versus the controller.
Okay.
All right. So this is not something I'm going to recommend because it's a bad idea, but I did it anyways. I actually ran my common or my ground from the ground on the VFD to the ground on the power cord for the controller. Solved all my problems. But electrically, any electrician worth his salt is going to tell you that's a bad idea.
Yeah, well, this was professionally installed, I guess you would say. I mean, a paid electrician to install it.
I'll go back to
That
the
doesn't
original
necessarily.
It doesn't mean anything. I know it doesn't mean anything. And I
Yeah.
just had an electrician in, and his solution was install a UPS, starting at like 10 grand, which is just not something I
I mean,
want to.
it's a cheap effort to find out if
Well,
it may be the problem, just run
Yeah.
a ground wire from one to the other, so you're working off the same ground potential. And somebody had mentioned fire panels a little while back, and one of the things with fire panels is you isolate ground. So you have floating voltages across your detection loop, as it were, to prevent certain types of fires, especially in electrostatic controlled areas. And one of the things you find a lot of times is your potential from ground to, and this is DC voltage, by the way, to, one side, your DC voltage is going to be different based on the ground potential. And I'm not saying it's the same thing for AC. I don't know enough electrical theory to be right, but I do know that it solved my problem right away. So it just made it worth a try.
So one other thing too is, Bill, is that there's two different types of three-phase power. There's a delta and a Y. I have no idea which one you have, and there's also a wild leg, which hopefully you don't have. So a couple of times when I've run into issues with electronic stuff that's been around, a lot of three-phase power, what we've done, and it's worked 80% of the time, is taking an earth ground rod and drive it right in at the machine location and take your machine grounds and run them right to earth ground.
Okay. Because the panel is probably 50 feet away.
Yeah.
And then that panel, like, so I'm in an old kitchen cabinet shop, which it's got tons of power, but there's a panel on a panel on a sub panel on a sub panel. And so maybe it's just not getting the proper ground it needs.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't disconnect the panel grounds, but add an earth ground right at the machine. And try, it's a cheap, to go down and buy some copper wire and an earth ground rod and drill a hole through the floor and pound it in and put a clamp on it. And it's a lot of times I've seen where
it's that simple.
Yeah.
It
certainly can't hurt anything, for
No,
sure.
and I mean,
the next thing would be find out what kind of power you have, whether it's a delta or a Y, and make sure that if you have delta, that you have the right setup, and if you have Y, you have the right setup. And I'm trying to think which one of them requires a neutral run, even though it's three-phase power, and one doesn't. So I can't remember which one it is.
The Y requires the neutral.
Okay, the Y. All right. I knew it was one. I couldn't remember the other one, but if there's any weird stuff going on, if you put it in there, that at least you'll eliminate that part of it. And that's cheap. It's it's an easy fix.
Well, I'm trying to eliminate the simple stuff that I can do before I start spending money. Because my next step is to put an actual meter on the power coming in and determine if it's exterior, like, is it the power coming in? If it's that, then the power company will do something, and if it's internal, then I have to do something. But it's still less than $1,000.
I think if it's been working for a while, I'd be more inclined to say that either another machine that's added in your workshop, if it's running, could be a cause, but generally that's at motor startup and things like that. I'd be more inclined to say that one of your earths has gone loose, or you've got a loose connection in your machine somewhere, and just simply, like as Mike said, just check your earths. I've posted a picture. You can put like the ferrite bead on there. And just make sure none of your wiring has moved next to any like high voltage type stuff. Like, so if you've got any data signal wires, that it's not near it somewhere. And that was a simple fix for me where I was having the problem. I had another one many years ago when I first started with a DC spindle. I did something similar on the positive and negative of the DC spindle, brushed spindle, that was causing floating in my X and Y, and it'll sometimes only do it in 1 or 2 axes, not all the axes. So
that's because my Z axis is a servo, and the X and Y I believe are steppers.
Yeah.
And it only does it on the Z. Like I can use, because I use a table majority. I use it for cutting 2-dimensional shapes. I would say that's 95% of what I do.
There's another thought here now that you mentioned it's a servo.
Yeah.
The encoder could be going bad
On the servo itself.
Mm-hmm. Yep, not reporting the right positioning.
It just loses it and then just keeps on going from where it left off.
Well, actually, that's a good
Haven't crossed
point.
my mind.
That's actually a good point because no, actually, if the servo is losing it, then the controller
it should throw a fault.
It should throw a fault. It'd
Mhm.
be the signal going to the servo driver that would be telling the servo to actually do something wrong. Then the encoder won't pick up a fault. So it's got to be still a faulty signal that's not affecting the normal steppers, but it could be the servo driver as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And like you said, Bill, if you've got a main panel and then a sub panel and then other panels, if you've got a ground in any one of those panels that's not bonded properly or something, it just, and especially like you said, it's an older shop that's had a lot of rewiring done in an old panel.
How bad would it
try the ground first?
Yeah. How bad would it be to have an electrician come out and check the ground on all your panels?
Well, I've had 3 now.
Oh, okay.
Well, and then they check the machine and it turns on, lights come on, and then
I mean the problem with electricians is, and I'm not talking bad about electricians, but most electricians are basically run wires from one place to another, and when it comes to troubleshooting issues, most of them are not really
that's not what they
qualified to do that.
They're not
what they do.
technicians.
Yeah, that's not what they do. They run wires from here to there and they connect them and they can go in and, check whatever, but they're not troubleshooting electrical problems. They can put a meter on and say you got 110 or 220 or 208 or whatever, but that's as far as it goes. You're really probably not going to get much more out of them than that. Unless
The last one I had in was probably the most knowledgeable, and he's installed a few CNC machines before. He's actually installing one now. So he wasn't amazed by the machine. He's seen them before, so he knew a little bit about them. So I might get him back in and get him to check the grounds. And the other idea I had is I have 2 heads on this machine. One is not being used. It's an oscillating knife that I don't use. So my other thought was to take the spindle off and put it on the second head and see if I get the same results.
Try running it without the spindle. Turn your spindle off.
But then I thought about that, but then how would I know? I wouldn't know if it's in the wrong location because the machine doesn't stop. It literally.
Check your zero, put a block or something, zero the top of your spindle to the block. So it's sort of like, so it's in midair sort of thing. So, just sort of like measure how high the spindle is, remove the block, run it so it should so when you re-zero it again, you should be able to slide the block under there. By the sounds, but you're losing a lot more than a millimeter or 2 over a period of time. Let it run for half an hour and see what it looks like.
Yeah, it runs. Like I started doing the curve the other day. It was 2 hours in. I came in, it was up 1/4 of an inch. So I stopped, rehomed everything, and then took, kind of backed up my program from where it was. Within a half an hour, I did it again.
Yeah. So if you on your bed put a block, say, you know, that's 2 inches high or
Yeah.
something, lower
Yeah,
your,
just
your
touch the top of it.
just to the top of it, remove the block, and then like zero it at that, remove the block, run it, and then put the block, like home it, and then put the block back under it and see if it's lost any Z, lost or gained.
Hey,
With the
you said
block.
you said it was higher,
Yeah. Loses
not
it.
lower.
Nope, higher.
Are you using an air assist since you have 2 heads?
I have air for my clamp for my dust collection, but that's it.
But you don't have air assist. That how big a spindle are you using?
It's
You're talking-
5 horsepower.
An air
So do
assist
you-
for the
so-
counterbalance.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Did you get that, Bill?
Nope. I didn't hear you.
What are you using to counterbalance the weight of the spindle?
Gravity? I don't know.
Well, I mean, if it's going up,
Yeah.
and you said it's a servo, right?
Mhm.
So your spindle is what? I don't remember what 5 horsepower run, but I'm going to say probably 20 pounds.
Probably, yeah.
So your servo's not picking that 20 pounds up by itself. I would wager.
I mean, I'd have to take the machine apart. The head, the gantry, there's a large box that houses the 2 heads and the camera on it. It's all
Let me ask
enclosed.
you this: do you have a large tube that comes up above your gantry?
No.
Oh. Well, then I'm at a loss. I'm sorry. I'm a little slower than I thought I was.
There's another
They
thought.
generally use that configuration on mills. I haven't seen a CNC that uses air assist.
These two are on a roll.
Oh, I use air assist all the time. That's my big machine has an air assist to lift the spindle. Go ahead, Bill Griggs.
Mechanical.
Yeah, that's my next thing is to take it apart and
Okay.
because it occurred to me that I haven't greased the lead screw, the ball screw, in quite some time.
Yeah, that's probably that could be the thing, but here's a simple test. Get yourself a Sharpie.
Yep.
Okay. And mark a witness line from the coupling to the shaft of the motor and the coupling to the shaft of the ball screw. Run the program for a while and then check to see that the line is still aligned, because if the set screw is not quite tight enough, you know, the things are going along, it'll spin down and then
Just
it'll reverse,
loses,
spin and
yeah.
reverse, and it loses a little bit. Just, you know,
Mhm.
probably can't see it with the naked eye, but after a half an hour or an hour of running, the 2 lines could be further apart, and then you know you've got slippage. That's mechanical. Really cheap to test and fairly simple, just to eliminate that possibility. I had Ned, something you said struck me as funny. When you were talking about getting the ferrite cords and the ferrite torus
Beep.
and wrapping the wires clockwise. Now I'm
For the
wondering,
same
since
direction, yep.
I'm wondering, since you're on the other side of the world, whether we should wrap them counterclockwise.
Okay, I've got to go. Thank you.
Could be. Yeah. I don't think that it's because like you wouldn't be losing it in the up direction. If it was something loose on the thread, it'd be getting lower because of the weight. It wouldn't pull it up, but it'd let it go down. If it was your driver, that there was an issue between what the driver says and what the spindle does, you'll get an alarm where the encoder goes out of sync with what the signal says it should have been. You're just getting interference from something, and it's just a matter of finding what it's from.
Yeah.
And I agree with that, Ned, and I think you're probably right. But I've learned a lot of times over the past is the first thing you want to do whenever you have a problem is go through all of the mechanical first and make sure that you don't have a mechanical problem, so that you're not chasing something that you can't see or that you're not seeing. So I think it's definitely sounds like an electrical problem, but check the mechanical problem, get it inside that head and look and see what's going on.
Yeah, it needs.
Especially if it's going up, it doesn't make sense, but
And
hey,
we're talking
stranger
quarter,
things have happened.
we're talking quarter of an inch, not just like a.
Yeah, right,
like
exactly. That's a big whack for something to go like that. So,
should be visible mechanically.
and like you said, you haven't been in there for a long time, so now's a good reason to go in there and do some maintenance.
No,
There
it's
could be at the bottom of your Z axis, a mouse might have crawled in there. It's just
Yeah,
keep it from going down. God.
So
having
do you
mouse
know
pancakes for breakfast.
which model Axis machine do you have? They for those who don't know, they spell it AXYZ, and it's pronounced
It's a.
Axis.
I'm not sure the model, but it's a 4010. It's got it in 2010, so it's 14 years old.
I'm trying to see if any of their machines have counterbalances on them.
I don't think it does. Like, I have had the head open, like that cabinet for the head gantry a few times just over the years to replace wires, and I don't remember any like something like that might stick it.
How often does it happen? Is it recreatable?
Well, if I want to, I can't do it on command. Like I said, when I did the last carve, it took 2 hours, 3 hours for it to happen.
Then you said you fixed it and it happened in a half hour,
Yeah, like I just
or you reset it, or
I reset the machine, rehomed it, backed up my program to just where it happened and let it go, just to kind of carve off the high spot. And within a half an hour, it did the same thing again.
Ned, what do you think?
Because I've had that happen on my Avid, and it's always the Z, and I have to shut it down, turn it back on. But if I move it up and down manually, it will actually jump once in a while. If it does it once, if I shut it down and reboot it, so it's just losing signal somewhere.
Yeah, because it can literally, I can turn the machine off, rehome, and it'll go right back to where it was. The Z won't be, it will be bang on. You can't tell. It's like nothing ever happened, so it's dead on perfect. But when it loses it, then if I notice when it loses it and I try to just rehome, it's still off, I think. Because I went through this with that large sign that I just did, and that's when this problem started. Because I've been using the table in this location for 3 years with no issues until I started.
Can I ask a question real quick? This does sound, I mean, I had the problem with the shop saver where I was losing my X and Y, and come to find out that was a grounding issue, and it was easily remedied just by running a ground from one plug to the other plug. And I do a little bit of electrical work, even though I'm not an electrician. I've wired my house, I've wired my shop. But another question that kind of popped into my head is, you said you haven't done any maintenance on your linear bearings?
On my ball screw on the Z.
All right. Can you easily take your servo and take it off or loosen it? So it's not statically attached to the machine?
Maybe. I haven't been inside the cabinet that houses everything.
Right. And this is why I ask. On my smaller machine, I also have a ShopBot desktop. On my smaller machine, when my bearings go out, they're easy to tell because I just basically disconnect my motor and push it along the X and Y axis or the Z axis. Yeah. And you can tell right away that the bearings are shot.
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
But the only reason I'm not suspecting it is because you're losing your Z upwards and not downwards. But it may happen because do you get any shuddering or any noise from the machine when it happens that may indicate bearings?
I'm not standing there watching it.
Gotcha.
Actually,
I think-
he could be losing it down, just not by going down. You know, when it
Mhm.
raises up and down.
True.
Yeah, it could. It actually could be either way. There is a lot of times, like mine's got a a chuck in it at the
Yeah.
bottom of the drive, and sometimes they say those become loose.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's one other thing to think about too. Temperature. Something
Yeah.
may be getting hot after 2 hours
Yeah.
of running, and you could, take the laser temperature thing and just shine it
That's only
on components to check.
It is true, because when I did the other carve, the larger carve, I would come in the morning and it would go for a couple hours, and then it would mess up, and I'd say, that's it for today, and I'd come back and do it again. It was literally, that carve was on my table for 3 weeks. Just me doing a little at a time, not pushing my luck, just to get it off. So yeah.
Just run it. As the next step, I would run it, and that wouldn't cost you anything except for an hour or two. Leave your spindle off, run it, do a drilling operation, you know what I mean, where you're doing like a few thousand holes or something like that, and do a 3 or 4 inch drill path or drilling operation on it. Let it go for a while, or if you want to set up a 3D operation with a whole heap of up and down peaks, and just see what happens after that. But yeah, just do it with the spindle off.
Yeah, and Ned's probably correct in just doing an air cut. I mean, just cut it, an inch above the table. Don't waste material. It's not. Yeah.
And since it's failing up, it should be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing.
Or like Randy said, it could be failing on the way down, and which holds it in upper position.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every now and then it is in the G code, it goes up with the end of a pass and then resets. I don't know what it does in there,
but like Randy was talking about, if it's coming down in the Z position and binding against your material, that creates that upward movement of it. Does that make sense? Because your servo is reporting the rotation, right? Pulse width modulation, right?
But it wouldn't, if it came down and hit the material, I would know.
Okay.
I mean, there'd be a hole. The sign I did was 4 inches thick. If it came down and hit it, I'd know.
But if the ball screw or something is binding, or the coupling or whatever's in there is binding on the way down, it could be, and then maybe it's okay when it goes back up. So again, check out the mechanical stuff, and if you don't find anything there, put a ground in and check.
I know my shop bot, when the bearings go out in it, I'll be honest with you, there is a loud and pronounced chuk 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 chuk. And
see, I've moved it up and down manually, just full range, and it sounds fine. But again, it's not
used
for hours.
By manually, are you talking about the CAM software, or are you talking about physically taking it
with the
hand?
controller? You can't move it by hand. Yeah.
And with the ShopBot, that's what I was saying. With the ShopBot CAM software, I can move the ShopBot and never have a problem with it binding. But as soon as I take the motors loose and actually manually drive it,
yeah, you can hear it.
I know right away it's the bearings. And I've had that machine for 15 years. So I've replaced the bearings on linear rails, the 4 or 5 times in 15 years.
The thing you guys need to keep in perspective with a stepper motor or with a servo motor or a stepper motor with feedback, if there's any binding on the ball screw or the linear rails, or if the Z-axis doesn't go down to where it's supposed to, the machine will alarm out, or that driver will alarm out, so that it's losing steps.
Yeah.
All the Axis machines that I saw had gear and pulley, belt and pulley set driving the screws.
So when I pop that cover off, there's a belt, there's the motor, and then the belt going to the lead screw and down the ball
Yeah.
screw.
You
So
have a belt on it?
Say that again.
You have a belt on it?
Yeah.
It's a 4010
The
and
belt?
it has a belt?
For
not-
the
It's
For the
not a
Z.
screw.
no, he has a screw with a pulley on the end of it, and a timing belt.
so the belt could be
According to
slipping.
opinion.
Yeah, I did. I actually replaced my that drive belt 8-9 months ago on mine.
Oh.
Yeah,
because
I
it
never
was
even thought
slipping.
of that. That belt could be old.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
they're
if you've never
inexpensive.
replaced it after that many years,
But it's funny, like I've talked to the technicians there, I don't know, 3-4 times, different technicians going through, because every time you call, you get a different technician, you got to go through your whole thing again. And every single time, like none of them go over, hey, have you checked this? Is it because it could be the ground? Have you done any maintenance? They're always like, yeah, you got electrical problems, not our problem. See you later. Call electrician. Like none of them, the technicians don't, they just kind of, I took the
I'd
control
start.
board, shipped it back to Axes to have them do their recertify it and, make sure everything was up and good. And that cost me $800. Didn't change anything.
Yeah, I would do the same thing, like do it mechanically, take that cover off, do some marking on it where your ball screw is, where your belt is, everything, and see if it's losing anything.
Yeah. I mean, because that belt could slip and it would just be one notch off and it
Right.
would just keep going.
Right, because it's not going to send an alarm because it actually moved.
It moved.
Right.
So if the bearings are getting a little tough, a little tight, and give a little bit too much resistance, that belt slips. It just keeps going. Doesn't know.
Mhm.
Pull
Yeah.
your belt and try to move the spindle and see what happens if you feel it.
Yeah.
I would actually just at least do a physical inspection of the belt.
These Axes machines are overbuilt. I mean, they're like battleships, basically, mechanically, the ones I've seen anyway. So
But still a belt. I mean,
yeah,
after
it's
you
still a
said
belt.
12
Yeah, after 13
after
years.
12, 15 years, how many times has that went up and down?
Yep,
Yeah.
thousands, millions, maybe.
Yeah.
You know.
On the table is like it. I don't let anybody use it who's not really familiar with it because it will destroy it. Well, it won't destroy itself, but it doesn't care. If you tell it to do something, it's going.
Right.
My dad used it a long time ago and I don't know what he was doing, but he ended up plunging a bit right through the MDF, right through the aluminum spoil board down about a half an inch. And that machine just didn't care.
Oh, that reminds me, Bill. Do you warranty your bits?
Do I?
Yeah.
Depends.
If I hit the side of a 1-inch hickory board with it, and it shatters.
Sure.
I had that in and I go flying. I'm like, damn it, he did that on purpose. I'd have to order some more. What the shit?
Bill, I've just posted a machine in the chat. Would that be your machine or something similar? That's a 4712. I did put 4010, but anyway.
Thank you. I'm on my phone.
I'll click it and just
I have a camera for my computer. Always put it on.
there we go. I will turn on share screen and you'll see it.
I probably could look in the Facebook group. Yeah, that's it.
I'm trying to zoom it in.
My head configuration is a little different,
That's that.
but that's the box that I was speaking of. So I've got 2 heads. I don't have that. Well, that's the dust collection, I guess.
I think
I've got different spindle.
I've seen like a weight, a chain, and sprockets that goes to some of these. I don't know if this is that kind of, if it has a counterbalance, it might be that kind. So it could fit in that box. But
I don't think I've been in there before and I was surprised how little is in there.
okay. Yeah.
Mr. Griggs, I think you need to change your tickets from Houston and New Brunswick.
Well, if SpaceX is launching from New Brunswick, I'd consider it. But
Can't see much from here.
no, I may
A little
not
bit
be
of
able to see
snow.
much anyway on this trip. Rumor has it that they might launch the day before I get there,
Oh, wow.
Oh, geez.
and then that would mean that there probably would not be access to the to the factory the following day. You never know.
Well, if that's the case, you can always drive up to Central Texas and we'll put you in the presidential suite.
There you go. So yeah, gonna be interesting times.
Oh, they want 35,000 euro for that machine.
It's
Yeah, because you hasn't.
it's always been a premium priced machine. Let me put it that way. Do you just have the auto tool changer?
Mine, no, it does not.
We have the at the college we have one got another college that had surplus that back when you could still do that. And it's a small I won't say benchtop, but it's it's one of their smaller machines, and it was way overbuilt. Has there's a slide out drawer in the front of it that has the variable frequency drive and all the drivers and everything right underneath the spoil board. And we didn't know that when we first got it, but so that's why I know what's inside of the columns, gantries, and under those covers, because we were searching and searching, trying to find out, what kind of electronics were on this machine, because we were about to upgrade it to a Centroid control, and then we discovered that we didn't need to. So
I probably have a picture inside mine here somewhere. Figure out how to do this. It's been a great machine. I mean, I've had no complaints with it. The vacuum's getting a little weak.
You have a phenolic table or just a vacuum table?
Just a vacuum. It has a carved aluminum base with MDF top on it.
Right.
And it just kind of sucks everything through that. It's got 6 zones on it. I can change as I need to.
Right.
It's a great machine. It's made for a sign shop, which is what I have. So if
For a
you
what shop?
I've got a sign shop, so
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's just something silly. It's just gonna, it's just something silly. It might take a little bit to find it, but I don't think it's anything major, and I think you should get a lot more life out of that machine without any problems. It's just you've struck on a few people that just didn't know how to or what to check for has probably been your biggest problem at the moment.
Yeah, and the UPS. I mean, it's a great idea, and I understand where he's coming from. At the same time, I don't really want to spend $10,000 on something that I probably don't need.
You can get line conditioners and line filters, like you can get a large 3-phase line conditioner to put on there, which will be a lot cheaper than a UPS. He's only getting you to get the UPS because it probably has it built into it without him realizing it. But yeah.
Well, like the way he's explained it to me, it takes the power, turns it into chemicals into the battery, and then you get a constant 208, perfect 208 all the time.
Yeah, it runs it through a bridge rectifier is what it does, and that's how it does line conditioning. The UPS does line conditioning. It's the same thing. But one of the other things is it's going to give you a consistent ground or a consistent potential to ground. And that's what Mike was saying, and that's what I was saying. If you just run a common ground, whether it be that ground rod that Mike had mentioned, or just running a ground wire from one electrical outlet to the other electrical outlet, I think if it's not a mechanical problem, it'll solve your problem.
Yeah, I think that'll be one of the things I do first. Well, I'm going to do the mechanical stuff regardless.
I would ask him also, say, if you're telling me this is what it is, and if it doesn't work and it still does it, I don't have to pay you, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, see how confident he is in that decision.
And
Yeah,
Hunter,
well, like I
air
said,
run,
it's reasonable.
run.
He didn't think.
also air run it with a spindle off. That's another easy one that won't cost you anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do all the things that you can do without spending money first.
Yeah, exactly. That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I had a picture of the box, but I can't find it.
Your screen has been blank for a while, in case you didn't know.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to find a photo on my phone.
That's okay. Just
Get new phone.
Can't you do,
what's the question,
No.
Barry?
I was looking to see if, how to do it. Oh,
Yeah.
never mind. Now I need to figure out how to turn mine off.
Yeah. I was just looking at three-phase line conditioners range anywhere from $300 to $1,000 or more.
And I was looking at them online, and I kind of showed him a couple. And he said, "Oh no, that's not what you need." I said, well, I'm not an electrician, so it's what you do. I don't tell people what to do that know what they're doing. But he thought, and it's funny because I had another electrician in. I told him what I wanted. And he's like, "I'll get your price." His price was like $3,600. I don't know what he was getting a price on, because I thought the way the technician explained to me, I explained to them, I need a filter for my 208 to stop voltage spikes. He said, "Yep." But again, before I go down that path, because it doesn't make sense, I was talking to an electrician. I'm in a semi-industrial area. So there's other buildings in the area that have pieces of equipment. It's odd that only this piece of equipment in this building is having problems. There's other pieces of equipment, and it might not be CNCs, but that are sensitive to voltage spikes. So if it is happening externally coming into the building, there'd be other people having issues.
Did anybody
But-
in the buildings around you put in new equipment recently?
No, I mean, not that I know of.
Huh.
I mean,
Okay.
there's lawyers next door, and there's a couple of tire shops and stuff. So
I would have a hard time thinking that it's an electrical, a brownout or anything like that, because it wouldn't be isolated to just your Z axis.
well, the activity log on Axios has like an activity log where you can go in and kind of look at everything,
Mhm.
and it registers voltage spikes every now and then.
Mhm.
But one technician said that they're kind of within the tolerance of what the machine is capable of handling. One told me that they were too high. So
The reason that I mentioned ground, and I'm kind of stuck like a broken record, I apologize. Anytime we're talking about anything that uses pulse width modulation, which is the way that it signals, that constant, it's going to reference, especially if you're using 208 to your spindle and 208 to your BFD. It's going to reference that against ground, not against common. And if the ground potential is different, then it's going to get a different signal or a different amplitude of signal from both devices. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm my electrical theory is pretty bad, but I'm going to go back to what I think a couple people have voiced here. Don't trust an electrician to figure that out.
I mean, one other thing with the servo motor generally has a pretty good inrush current too. So if there was an issue with that servo motor when it's getting hot, it could be taking enough voltage away to make the driver board go wacky too. But that's going to be a heat thing, and I don't know. I'd go with checking out all the simple things first before you get.
yeah, I think that's my game plan for now is
Yeah.
do the mechanical, do the ground, do the air test. and start doing the process of elimination of things that I can do.
Yeah.
And
before
add lubrication to the
And then,
the bearings.
if you,
Yeah.
the one other thing that Bill was saying, and if you're doing an air test and you get it to do it, you might want to right at that moment try to get some temperatures off that servo motor and see if that's running above what it normally should be running temperature wise.
I do have
One good thing is you're not on Australia power, so it's failing going up instead of going down.
That's only if you're spinning your spindle the opposite way that the southern hemisphere.
Oh, you're right. My bad.
There you go. Yeah.
On that
Upside
age,
down, right?
on that age, have you done a physical inspection of the wiring, make sure it isn't cracked, or even the heat on the cabling? I don't know how much it generates, but dry, cracked wiring connector, drop something on it, chip the connector.
all the cable does run like they're all on one side of the machine through the chain. So I could probably pop that open and speak.
Yeah. Well, start from A and do the simple stuff. And
it has been 15 years, so you can just buy a new machine too.
I was just gonna say it's probably easier to just buy a new machine. I take this.
You only just started making money. Time to empty that wallet again.
Yeah, it's finally paid for itself. Might as well buy another one.
crazy.
What if you were to find a machine in the US, what would it be like to try and import it up there?
Well, I have no idea. I don't know if I would find one in the US.
Okay.
I mean, I would probably get another Axis if I had to.
Okay. No problem solved. Write the check.
Well, they've come down in price. I did look into getting one for home not too long ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're not a hobbyist machine. I mean, their entry CNC is $40,000, I think.
Yeah, they're pricey, but they're nice.
Yeah.
Particularly when they work, and they're a lot of them in Canada and upstate New York. Really nice machines. And it's been 15 years before you had this problem. So
yeah.
Hey, can I get my order in for my bits before you raise the price on them to pay for your new machine?
To pay for the new machine, yeah. Well, somebody's got to pay for it.
I'm only ordering 3 bits. I don't want a $40,000 bill.
Gotta pass it along to your customer.
Got it. Yeah.
Well, no, 3 bits. That's 3%. That's only $1,200.
Yeah, we'll do baby increments. We'll do payment plan. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're gonna have a GoFundMe for Bill and his new machine.
A tool change would be nice, but
yeah.
You know what? I get having a tool changer, but I've had that table for 15 years. I've never really wanted one. Like I mean, I understand where they come in handy. I guess I don't do enough like full out production work where the 5 minutes to change a bit is a big deal to me. I don't know why.
You only say that because you haven't used one.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, Ned.
I was just going to say that. It's because you haven't used one.
There was an option when we got that machine. It was an option, but I think it was like a $15,000 option at the time, and we're like, it was already a $100,000 table.
Hey, look, even putting a spindle on there with an ATC on it, but just manually changing the tool by hitting the button and changing it, like that's just
and not having to re-zero everything.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you'd have to configure each tool and change it to do the offsets, but it's not that much of a problem to re-zero. Like I don't have a problem with re-zeroing, but undoing that nut and changing the tool, I know it's only a minute or so, but geez, it's annoying.
Yeah. I don't have to re-zero.
My
You-
ATZ, I don't have to re-zero anything. And I'm thinking about upgrading the 10-place ATC. I have a 5-place now. And just to be able to walk away from the machine and have it change tools and still work on the same zero,
Yeah.
no matter what tool's in there, as long as I set them up in the machine and the CAM software, it's just unbelievably nice.
You've got to have the carousel so you can actually call the tool number and then have the corresponding offset to do that. But hey, look, even as I said, I can do either way. When I do work for some of my customers, etc. Those tool changes have just spoilt me, and I still prefer to actually just manually change the tool, not to use the carousel. And then zero. It's really quick and easy to zero a tool. It's not really a big problem.
I have a 6-place and I don't use it automatically. I don't like it. I mean, I like it to be able to just push the button and change the tool, but I mean, but for what I'm doing, most of the time, the 3D carves, they're all long, and I'm doing one, and then the next day I'm doing the next piece, and then going on. So it's not, it's not that important. And on my table, the way the rack is inboard, so you end up losing 6 inches of your cutting space. So I just turned the rack around, and when I need it, I pull the tool off, change it, re-zero it. Say la vie.
Yep.
If you're doing production work, it's hard to beat an auto tool changer.
Yeah, no,
But
I
that's,
get that.
you know, but that's about it. I mean, it gives you the ability to be somewhere else in the shop while work is being done and not having to babysit it and wait for the tool change. But is it an absolute gotta have? Oh, the one that Tally's doing right now for, testing
Yeah.
for this other company. That's a nice, inexpensive solution. I don't know if, and you don't have to add anything else really. Except that piece. But
Right.
who knows what that'll be like long term? I don't know. It might be, might be too early to invest in that technology for a larger spindle.
Well, it's that you need you'd have to, if you're retrofitting a machine to have one, it's an expense.
Yeah. Well, you saw the thing last week that Tally was showing, right?
No, I wasn't here last week. I fell asleep again. But I saw his pictures on Facebook there. I saw
Yeah.
his machine in action.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of cool. I'd like to see one.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's why I was thinking about it today, because I actually was looking at it today.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, guys. It
I'm
is
heading out.
9:15.
What was it showing?
He was showing a new style automatic tool changer that unspins the collet and nut from the spindle, rises up, moves over, and then spins onto
wow.
the next one.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
understand.
And it checks the tool length after each operation, so you're always good to go. It's not gonna assume that it's screwed on just the right amount every time. It measures. So
I saw one of his comments about no cross threading this time.
well, everybody keeps asking him, will it cross thread? And the according to the guys who put it out, no. And it's a hardened steel nut of the whole hardened steel spindle, blah blah blah. So I don't know if that creates that cross threading. Hadn't thought of that, in everybody's mind, and now they're saying, nah, I don't want to mess with that. But
well, if it sits in there flush, it shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Time will
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah, time will tell.
All right, guys, I'm out of here. See ya.
All right.
Take care.
See
Thank
you
you,
later.
everybody.
So there's later, guys. Have a good one and a safe one.
Hi, guys.
See you guys.
If
Night.
you'd like to join us next week for the CNC Router Mixer. There will be a post in the group every Wednesday to let you know how, and you hit the Zoom link and join us. Have a good one, Ned, Bill, enjoy. It was
See
nice
ya.
speaking with you.
Hasta la vista.